about this Franklin project. He's the owner of this building that was so graciously just allowed us to come in and kind of dominate it. 2 years ago, he facilitated the beginning of the first permaculture charrette that happened here over a week in May. With Steve, myself, and a bunch of people that are in this room. If you were upstairs, you probably saw a big permaculture design of 3 mill buildings. That was May 2013. Yeah. So there was a group of us that worked on that, and since then Todd has just been spearheading the project here, which has been really wonderful. And then we have Michael Phillips, who, if you know anything about fruit trees, you've probably come across his books. I got a little celebrity shock today when I saw him. Famous. He's also in the film. And then we got Steve, who is my permaculture teacher and mentor.
Those great calves that really show.
Yeah, great calves. He had the integrity to talk about something that we all do and how actually it's very useful, and we just kind of discard it, which I think is really beautiful. And he's also really been one of the pioneers in the state to educate permaculturists. And, I feel like Steve's mission has been to spread permaculture so that we, as his students, feel empowered to also spread it. So that's been Steve's been really powerful in my life and a lot of people in this room I know.
Yes,
And then last but not least, we have Josh Trought, who is the conductor of this amazing place up in Dorchester, New Hampshire called DAcres, where just so much magic has been happening for the last 17 years. He just released a book in March that has, been I don't know, Josh, I'm kind of speechless about you because you're authoring us a handbook of how we can bring permaculture on a community scale level, which I think is pretty huge and essential to permaculture into the future. So thank you for coming out today and being here. One last thing before I let these great guys take over. If you're around here in the central New Hampshire area and you want to get your feet wet in permaculture, check out the Central New Hampshire Permaculture Meetup, where anybody can teach, anybody can offer a workshop, and anybody can come to whatever's happening. There's always something going on, from book discussions to how to do manure to how to start seeds. Like anything you can imagine around permaculture, it's happening, and anybody is welcome with open arms. So check that out. If you need a card for the website, it's right here. Candace, also co-organizer, in the middle there, she has a card. So check it out. So let's start with Todd.
So tonight, thank you all of you tonight for coming here. It's fantastic, and I would say that tonight's, it's not really about Franklin. It's certainly not about me, and it's really not about future plans. And let's really be honest about it. I think the reason why we're all gathered tonight is that we recognize that the status quo is broken. And the status quo is broken not just in downtown Franklin, not just in New Hampshire or New England, but the status quo is broken just about everywhere. And that our economic model of endless growth is unsustainable. We just can't keep going on in a linear economy where we take and we make and we trash and we do it again. We've really got to shift to a circular economy, one that is resilient, it's based on whole system design, and that we're approaching a post-growth society not just on peak oil and on agriculture, but on a sense of a community level. We've really, truly lost our sense of community, and our social and our economic model just isn't working anymore. And I think that tonight it's a really good resurgence, and it's a shot in the arm of enthusiasm. And to see all these folks gathered tonight in Franklin. Franklin, New Hampshire is the smallest city in the state of New Hampshire. We are the poorest city by the numbers, and we have the lowest level of higher education at 15%. We have the second highest level of lead paint. But tonight, I would say that we have probably some of the most enthusiastic, upbeat people that can make a difference and make a change. And that a revitalization is really not about bricks and mortar and about money and dollars and cents. It's really about people. When people gather together and they believe in something with their hearts and their minds, and they congregate and they come here with all the choices and all the places you can go tonight, the fact that you're here in the basement in a building that was built in 1900 as a catch-all department and hardware store, and you're still here tonight at whatever hour it is, speaks volumes, and I think that we all believe that something can happen because of you. People make change. It's all because of all of you. We congregate, we believe in something, we can make it happen. And so I really don't want to get into the details. I just want to say it's because of people gathering. It's magical. So I want to say thanks very much for coming.
Thank you. I go to many, many places to teach about growing healthy fruit, sometimes about herbal medicine, and Anderson Valley in California, down in Asheville, North Carolina. And I think sometimes, boy, I moved to New Hampshire, and it doesn't happen here. Not only moved to New Hampshire, I moved to Lost Nation, New Hampshire. But to see all of you tonight, it tells me that it does happen here. And it is, like Todd just said, that is the most amazing thing about this night. And this time of year, and I'm walking out by my woodshed. There's not much in bloom in our country yet, a few crocuses here and there. And who do I see? I see the little blue orchard bee, the mason bees, which are 200 of those females pollinate an acre of orchard. And they come out of these little tubes that I've placed here and there throughout the farm. And they're ready. I'm ready. We're all ready. The season's here, and it's great. Thank you for having me.
I guess the only thing I want to say is thank you all for showing up. Josh was really my inspiration for getting involved with permaculture and having the courage to start experimenting on our little half acre. And then encouraged me when I said I wanted to go around and talk to people around New Hampshire, which he had already done. And to get people inspired. I got to meet a lot of you in doing that, but never did I imagine that we'd have over 140 people come out on a weeknight, just folks from New Hampshire, and we know this isn't everybody in our networks. So the fact that this film features just a few of us with little aspects of what we're doing, but it implies so much more that all of us are contributing and other people are contributing as part of this network around the planet gives me a tremendous amount of hope. And hopefully my parents will understand what I'm talking about. And won't be afraid of our clothes anymore. So thank you. And we look forward to your questions.
So for me, I think it's it's very heady stuff to have written this book and have this book published and stuff. And it's taken me a little bit to get used to. Some of it, I think, is because I really don't look at any of the DAcres project or any of the things going on in this region as something that I own or something that I really feel responsible for. I think from my perspective, from my experience, it is just like I am a very small piece of this pie. And I think I really need to acknowledge Regina, if she's still here, as one of the crucial contributors to the book and to the DAcres effort over the last 6 years. It's really, so I just try to take every possible opportunity wherever I get any credit to spread it, because it's just I wasn't doing a lot by myself, and then just this whole journey me and Steve have been on. I remember meeting Steve out by our cob oven. I think I was trying to impress him with my cooking on fire ability or something. He was like an academic sort of planner type guy, so I had on probably worse clothes than I do have on right now. Was cooking on a fire, and I I don't think we had any idea what we were trying to cook up, really. We just knew that that we needed to try to get the word out. We needed to try to start practicing, put stuff in practice. And then, so this was probably about close to 10 years ago. And over that course of time, we've had a couple of these public forums. We did a movie in Concord one time, and it was a good crowd, but it's nothing like what's going on right now. Looking forward to this summer, the permaculture gathering in Chichester on August 22nd. I think it's just going to be huge for a region, for our state. And getting these connections to the point where we're on first name bases, and we know each other, we know each other's families, what we're all good at. I mean, it is powerful, folks. It is something that this just didn't exist 10 years ago. So feel free, feel empowered by that, and also feel like you can use us as the tools. Like we are ready for everybody to jump in and start paddling. So just feel free to call us, email us, get in touch, whatever. If you need advice or you need a little push, shove, and get going, let us know, because we would love to help get the boat going.
Yeah.
Questions?
What do you want to say?
Okay,
Come on,
question
Sarah.
over here.
What are you, Michael Phillips, putting in your spray? You have to read the book.
Seaweed, liquid fish, pure neem oil, and affected microbes before
Say it again.
Seaweed, liquid fish, affected microbes, and pure neem oil. And on the groworganicapples.com website, you can find a lot of that information. But it's about stimulating the immune function of the plant. I started off 20, 30 years ago wanting to farm organically. Along the way, I married Nancy. Nancy's here. And as an herbalist in training, often it's all women who take the class. There might be one guy in 40. And for Nancy to learn about the plants, I have to be given remedies for conditions I have no idea. But all that taught me about body systems and how health springs from within. And so I started to apply that to the plants. And that's where a lot of this holistic stuff comes from.
So I want to add on that. We talk about microorganisms and things along that level. We're trying to clean up our mill buildings on the river, and kind of over that side, on the other side of the main road, on the Winnipesaukee River, is a big oxbow goes around Odell Park. We have some big hulky mill buildings that used to have industrial use. I mean, it's this town was founded on the hydropower and the ability to take the water, make electricity, and put the waste back in the river. And most folks don't realize that I think it was Nixon that started the EPA back in the early 1970s. And I was born in 1970, and in 1970, we were still sending our effluent into the rivers here right in downtown Franklin. And that was our waste management system. And the factories did the same thing with their effluent. And the Stevens Mill Building, it's a 186,000 square foot mill building diagonally behind me. You could tell what color they were dyeing the wool based on the color the river became with the effluent back in there. And so we're now involved in a building that made hacksaw blades with the Stanley Tool Company, and they built the building in 3 phases, and all the duds and the tailings and the metal scraps got put out in the river banking, and then the trees and the leaf litter came down, and so it all kind of stayed there. And we just did a bunch of testing, about $120,000 of testing, and tested the groundwater and found out it's not so good. We have these things, when you make metal, when you cut it in certain shapes, you have cutting solvents and degreasers and things like that go into the soil, and they contaminate it. And so now we're chock full of chromium, and it's soluble, which means that when the rain goes through it, it still leaches onto the metal and sends chemicals into the water. That's really a problem. And so we have a building that's got by traditional measures about $600,000 of PCBs and lead and asbestos and all kinds of the chemicals to clean up, never mind the fact that the building it's got a green roof. Not the way we want a green roof. It's got stuff growing on it. We have to clean this thing up, and we can't take no for an answer, and we have to have Stanley Tool Company be accountable for the problems they left behind. But there's new ways to solve problems, and that $600,000 bill is based on removing the trees and digging the soil up and hauling off out of sight and putting it in the ground somewhere else. And when you think about that, where is it somewhere else? We take our dirty soil and we put it in an excavator and a dump truck and we haul it off somewhere and stick it in the ground somewhere else, right? Doesn't that mean it just becomes somebody else's problem? And so we really have to solve that problem. There's new techniques that are based on solving it in situ or on site, where you can take microorganisms and stick them into the ground that can stabilize and have such a way that it's no longer soluble, and the microorganisms can eat the contamination and solve it on site. But these are kind of permaculture principles that take new approaches and take public support. And EPA and Department of Environmental Services don't believe in this stuff right away. So we propose these concepts and these ideas with a new approach. We need public and broad-based support to solve our problems in a way that mimics nature, and that's what permaculture is all about. And so as we gather here tonight, we have to come up with new solutions to old problems in a new way, or we have the same old, same old. So I just encourage you to be ready and to gather, but to also speak when we need your help.
That was a good segue, Todd. I was about to ask you almost the same question. But the question is broad and specific at the same time. How do we individually and collectively change the paradigm in society? It's such a big question. It's a simple question. But it's so big.
You start with yourself, really.
Right.
Your zone zero, like, are you, one, honoring yourself on a health level, on an emotional level, on a physical level, on a spiritual level? That's the most essential thing. Because if you're not honoring that, then you cannot change anything. So I think that's kind of like step one. And then from there, it's just little steps within your community that over time will grow to a big change. I don't know if anybody else wants to add on that.
No, I think a lot of it is it's good design. I mean, we would all love to follow the principles of permaculture, but we really don't. I mean, it's hard every day we wake up. We're busy. We're trapped in life, and with good whole system design, integrated design, a system that makes it easy to follow, going towards zero waste, where we save our tables and food scraps into the waste, not just our cardboard and our metals. It's good design, so it happens organically and naturally with integrating everything into a whole. So it's not just relying on ourselves, but it's thinking on a global system.
Plant apple tree.
Keep asking that question.
Keep spreading the word.
Can I just ask for a reaction to, just following up on what Todd just said about, the Stanley Company and the damage they did here. How do you guys feel about those companies, those corporations, whatever, providing the funding to do the mitigation that you're talking about? Does that give you the heebie-jeebies, or do you think that's the way to go in general?
Well, I think you want to approach it in a peaceful way. I mean, you want to talk to them and start a dialogue and explain to them that they made revenue in the process. They harmed the environment, the land they left behind. They're still in business today, and I think you want to push that way first and see where it goes.
And it's not just that particular company, but it's that whole principle of, to me it seems like it's teachable. I mean, if you go to these big companies and ask them for help, you're actually teaching them as well.
But I agree. And you have to keep in mind that when Stanley Tool Company was doing what they did in our rivers in Franklin, they weren't doing something outside the norm, and it was generally seen by all people, and it was just a standard way of doing things. So to single out and call them a bad company, or it was just society accepted that, right?
And that's part of changing the paradigm, is allowing them to provide the means for us to make the change happen.
It does, very much so.
I mean, I would just add, Marcia, that I think we need people who are interested in working in every sector So if there are sectors that you're comfortable working in that others might not be, we need you there. And I think we have a lot of Plymouth State students here still tonight. And I mean, we're not excited about everything that Plymouth State as a university decides to do, but we're kind of within the machine. And so within the machine, we're doing our piece to really change it, and we can see the systems changing. Just like Colby Sawyer's
Let's say that.
system is changing.
Who's here tonight from Plymouth State College? Sean, your group. I mean, could you guys stand up for a minute? Show the presence of Plymouth State College. Colby Sawyer College.
Colby Sawyer!
Colby Sawyer.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all for coming out to Franklin for the distance, and you're our future, so thank you so much.
It's all about you guys, really, truly.
The question for Martha, to me, revolves around this one. Is it really I don't know, top two, one or two issues that I think we're facing is this corporate personhood type thing? 'Cause it really is right at the top of the list. Because if I was dumping cyanide in my neighbor's water, I would go to jail. But Stanley is still out making tools, whatever. So I think this is something that just needs to be the top of the list. I think it's come up quite a few times in American history, and we need to tend to it.
We're kind of lucky where we are in New England in the sense that before Roundup came to life, and before Monsanto came to life, trains came to New England and farms moved to the breadbasket, and so we had cold, steep, rocky hillsides, and they worked. We made our food and our energy and our water right here in New England, and then it moved over there before we contaminated it. So as the breadbasket and the West Coast struggles with droughts and water issues and soil depleted issues and petroleum issues, we're actually in a really, really good spot in New England. We have unlimited water. We don't run out of water. You cannot imagine how lucky we are to have that. We can grow food on these steep hillsides. These guys are growing rice on hillsides in Plymouth and in northern Vermont with Ben Falk, and you're growing rice in your backyard, and we have hugelkultur going on, and we're actually really very fortunate that things went elsewhere in the midterm. So we're in a really, really great spot as long as we don't screw it up from here forward.
Any other questions or comments?
In the absence of questions, I'll make a couple of announcements that I think that might trigger others. So you heard about New Hampshire Permaculture Day, August
22nd.
Chichester.
Inheritance Farm.
We have, with some other people, Stacy and other people in the room, we have a permaculture class that starts in a couple weeks. And some people who are going to be in the class are here tonight. And then in the fall, Colby Sawyer's offering an urban permaculture course that's also open to people not affiliated with the college. And that'll be here in Franklin and also in London. Other things you guys are aware of?
Got one. Amelia and I, and you'll actually be there, we're in Dover, June 1st through 6th. We're doing a design charrette on designing an ecological neighborhood. So just analyzing and assessing what it would take to design a neighborhood and a community in a permaculture sense. So it's a week-long course in Dover. Amelia right here, myself, can ask us for more information. Brian will be there. We have a really awesome group of guest teachers, and it will be a really great opportunity to learn the design process and build a portfolio and be a part of. I work in real estate. I should talk about myself for 1 second. I work in real estate with this ecological lens to what does it look like to live in our homes in a sustainable way and have a sense of stewardship versus ownership. And applying that lens to real estate has been really fascinating. At first, when I heard the whole idea of real estate seemed very superficial, but my whole life now is helping people find that property or make these decisions that are going to be lifelong decisions for them, and then they're going to transfer that to the next steward, and it's actually quite beautiful. So anyway, back to this course, the whole concept is how can we design a community and a neighborhood in a permaculture way. It would be pretty exciting, I think.
We've already found little like signs of permaculture on the site. There's like beautiful hardy kiwi plants, a bunch of old blueberry bushes that were kind of an experimental crop from UNH. We think we discovered an underground spring when we were there this winter. And it's like one of the biggest properties that's still undeveloped along the bay in Dover on Great Bay.
Hey, thank you, everybody. I mean, it's great having all these folks here. It's really incredible. It's about people.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.